Well, good morning and welcome back to our journey through Lent as we're now in the final 2 weeks toward the crucifixion of Jesus and the celebration of the resurrection on Easter Sunday. Now, in these final 2 weeks before the crucifixion and resurrection, Jesus is revealing more and more of who he is and what's about to take place with him, what's about to take place with his followers, and what's about to take place with his murderers. The Jews were going to have Jesus crucified. From the very beginning of his ministry, they had plotted to kill him. The disciples, on the other hand, were clueless. Yes, they believed that he was the Messiah, but their understanding of what that meant and what it actually meant were vastly different. It wouldn't be until the resurrection and the 40 days following the resurrection that they would really begin to understand. Jesus was also beginning to make clear to them what would happen to them as well. The same people that were intent on killing Jesus would then turn on his followers and persecute them, even killing many of them. Jesus then, knowing what was in front of his disciples, said, "Whoever wishes to save his life is going to lose it, but whoever loses his life for my sake and the sake of the gospel will save it." And he closes out Mark chapter 8 with this statement, "Whoever is ashamed of me and my words in this adulterous and sinful generation, the Son of Man will also be ashamed of him when he comes in the glory of his Father with the holy angels." The adulterous and sinful generation is that generation, the ones who were about to kill their Messiah. Now, in Matthew 23, Jesus challenges the Pharisees and the religious leaders of the Jews who were plotting to kill him, the adulterous and sinful generation. In verse 29, he calls the scribes and Pharisees hypocrites. Why? Because they said that if they had lived in the days of their fathers, they would not have been partners with their fathers in shedding the blood of the prophets. Now, throughout the Old Testament prophets, you'll find that there were 3 major sins occurring among the Israelites that broke the covenant and brought about the wrath of God on their land: the shedding of innocent blood, idolatry, and sexual immorality. These 3 sins are tied together throughout the Old Testament. Jesus then says to these first century Jewish leaders, "Fill up then the measure of the guilt of your fathers." He was drawing a line in the sand. While they say they are the people of God, their fathers had murdered the prophets, and now they were going to murder him. And Jesus is just saying to them, go ahead and do it. Now, Matthew 23, verses 34 and 35, really is one of the most stunning exchanges between Jesus and the Jewish leaders. This is what was going to happen to his followers following the crucifixion. He said this, "Behold, I'm sending you prophets and wise men and scribes. Some of them you will kill and crucify. Some of them you will scourge in your synagogues and persecute from city to city." By the way, that's what the Apostle Paul was doing on the road to Damascus. He was headed to Damascus to persecute and even kill Christians. But he has this encounter with Jesus. And Jesus continues in this passage, "You'll scourge in your synagogues, you'll persecute from city to city, so that upon you may fall the guilt of all the righteous blood shed on earth, from the blood of righteous Abel to the blood of Zechariah, the son of Berechiah, whom you murdered between the temple and the altar." Now, Jesus says he is holding this generation responsible for all the righteous blood shed on the earth, from Abel to Zechariah, and including himself. And in verse 36, he says, "Truly I say to you, all these things will come upon this generation." Jesus is prophesying of the soon coming judgment that was going to come on Jerusalem in 70 AD. He told his disciples, who were marveling at the beauty of the temple, and it was magnificent. But he says not one stone of it will be left on top of another. It was going to be destroyed. And when it happened, it would cause shock and awe. And they would know that he is the Lord. Now, at the close of Matthew 23, Jesus weeps over the city of Jerusalem. Jerusalem, Jerusalem, who kills the prophets and stones those who are sent to her. How often I wanted to gather your children together the way a hen gathers her chicks under her wings, but you were unwilling. Behold, your house, the temple, is being left to you desolate. The crucifixion of Jesus, his subsequent resurrection from the dead, and 40 years later, the destruction of Jerusalem are all tied together. Well, we'll pick this up tomorrow as we continue on our journey toward the crucifixion and the resurrection of Jesus. I want to thank you for joining me today, and I look forward to being with you again right here tomorrow morning, and I hope you go out and make today a great day.